This is the Sparc trial, okay. And basically, we want to assess how sequential applications of Sparc compared to other surfactants. And we use some leading brands from certainly from here and from the States and Canada. And we compared them with Sparc. Now, I'm not showing any names, but we have Sparc here, and we had 6 other surfactants going out as well at label rates for at 21-day intervals. We started applying April, but we started gathering data from May. So May to September, treatments went out every 21 days. That's where we did it. Just the first trial we looked at the other day was in Bray, was in North Dublin. This is in South Dublin, Bray. Beautiful scenic area, as you can see. So we had the treatments, you just saw them, and we looked at all of this stuff here. We looked at the effect on soil moisture using the USGA soil moisture meter tool, which I only got this year. Absolutely excellent tool, I have to say, really fast and effective. So that's really, I'd recommend getting one of them. We looked at turf quality because you might think, well, you're looking at surfactants. Why would you even bother looking at quality? Because, well, here's the thing, right? Myself and 2 colleagues just published 2 weeks ago a peer-reviewed paper looking at use of surfactants and how they significantly enhanced turfgrass quality and health, even during very wet periods. So surfactants have a big effect on turf quality. We looked at NDVI, dark green color index. Anyone use that? No, it's an app you can get on your phone. Big P is shaking his head there. It's an app you get. It takes a photo of the area and compares it to a standard sort of chart, and basically it gives you a digital readout of the color. So you can, apart from relying on your visual eyes to try to assess it, it gives you an index to compare with other areas. So it's a very good, useful little tool. We looked at surface firmness as well, again, using the USGA 3 ball and firmness tool. We looked at drought and stress, but we didn't get any. So and that didn't work. We didn't have any dry weather enough to, but also we looked at the costs, which is important as well. So there were the assessments. And let's go through the results regarding soil moisture levels. So we did 15 assessments from May right through to September. Well, from June, sorry, to September we took in. And as you can see here, that the results, no statistical differences between the treatments. Even the control was statistically the same as the rest. There was some variation, as you see. So these are all leading brands of surfactants, and they all did what they were supposed to do. They all helped retain a level of moisture in those trial areas. I've listed them with the highest level of moisture to the lowest, and as you can see, Sparc came at number 3 with 15.47%. No differences really there. As you can see, they're all 15% mean values. So they all did what they're supposed to do. And what I wanted to do was then, well, I've tried to figure out, okay, they're all much the same through the period, but how consistent were they? I wanted to figure out how consistent was the level of moisture compared to the other ones. And then you can see there, it's impossible to tell from that. Even when I narrowed it down, say to Sparc versus surfactant 2 and control, or Sparc versus surfactant 5, it's very hard to tell which was performing on a more consistent level. And now here's the data, right? So there's the 15 assessment periods. There's the dates going across here, and there's the readings. So I mean, I would defy anyone to tell me which is the more consistent level of moisture. And I thought, well, then, of course, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Well, this is what statistical data analysis is for, of course. So I did. I ran the descriptive statistics for those data. And I'm going to narrow it down in a minute, but you get the number of assessments here. You get the range, which it shows from the highest to the lowest. You get the mean values. But the important ones, what I wanted to look at was what's called the standard deviation and the variance. So basically what we're looking at is how much the data varied from the average. So if there's a big standard deviation or a big variation, it means there's a wide differences between the driest and the wettest readings. And it turned out that Sparc actually had the lowest variation. So basically what that meant was that the Sparc outperformed the other surfactants. It maintained a consistent soil moisture level compared to the other ones. So it was, even though the mean values were much the same across the full period, consistently the Sparc was at less variation, which is a good thing, because when you come into anything to do with golf course management, consistency is the value that you're looking for. Consistent, green speed, consistent color, consistent growth. So for consistent level of moisture, I didn't notice till I ran the data. I was very surprised, very relieved actually, to see that it was quite well. So that's one thing that came from that particular trial. Now, what about the NDVI and the turf quality? Well, we didn't get any great variation there either. All we can say was that even though they were much the same, we did get the highest readings from Sparc with NDVI and turf quality. So that's another thing that was to their advantage, I have to say. This is the dark green color index, which gives me a reading of the color. So the higher the reading, the better the color, the greener it is, which may not be a good thing really, because you don't want them glowing green. You want them to turn natural green. So Sparc did give a very good performance in that area. Surfactant 2 here had the highest green color index. The control, as you would expect, had the least. So a good color response from them all, Sparc being number 2 there. Now we looked at surface firmness, and we did get some statistical differences there. So here, the lower the reading, the firmer the surface. And as you can see,
1,000 plus the 1,000.
Sorry, someone was talking there. Don't know who it was. Anyway, so Sparc came at number 3 with firmness. The control as number 6 with the firmness. Now, you don't want them like a rock either. Obviously, you want a sort of a Goldilocks effect where not too hard, not too soft. So we got a nice surface firmness reading with Sparc. This one here, number 3, was the hardest, least firm. Sorry, now I'm not saying they were soft or anything, but you can see the effects these surfactants had. They did vary. So we got a good intermediate reading there with regards to that. What about costings, which is an important thing? So I looked at now these are Irish costings here. From our obviously it's going to vary no matter what country or location you're in. And I went with the manufacturer recommended rates, liters per hectare every 28 days. So this is what the manufacturer recommends here. And I worked out the cost per hectare, and I also have them in Canadian dollars. How's that? So basically the Sparc worked out a recommended rate of 73 Canadian dollars. Number 1, 570. Number 2 was 1050, 1080 for that surfactant 3, and on down. The nearest to it regarding costing was the surfactant 6, which was 114 Canadian dollars. So value for money, considering that Sparc performed as well as, if not better in some areas, as all of these, the value for money was a big thing there, I have to say. I mean, I know when I was a superintendent, I never had money to spend on much. I was looking for savings everywhere. So that would have been a significant impact there. Anyway, take home points for Sparc. That's a bit of a tongue twister, actually. Take home points for Sparc, where we had it outperformed the other surfactants, maintaining consistent soil moisture levels with the lowest variability. So much more, I'm making hand figures here, less peaks and troughs with the Sparc one. Turf health and quality, significantly the same as the others, but it did have the highest number of NDVI and the highest turf quality score. Balanced firmness for playability. It wasn't too hard, wasn't too soft. Very good cost effectiveness. The trial rate that we went with would have worked out 105 Canadian dollars. Label recommended rates 45 euros per hectare. So very good value there, I would say. So consistent in moisture management, good quality, good color and firmness, and low cost. So I'm sounding like a salesman here. I'm going to have to stop doing that because I'm not here to sell anything. But that's the results we got.